All right, shall we then? I will call to order the, December 9th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hefner.
Here.
Commissioner Moline.
Here.
Commissioner Howe.
Here.
Commissioner Deal.
Here.
Chair Browning.
Here. Thank you very much. With that, then I would entertain a motion to approve agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. And a second. Do we get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, motion carries. And then do we? I'm trying to think.
We do have minutes.
Yeah, we do draft minutes for the November 11th, 2021 meeting. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And we invite any members of the public to speak on issues that are not on this evening's agenda. And Lisa, if we can lean on you to double check that.
Yeah, we have no members of the public in attendance at this time.
All right, thank you very much. And then we move into our first item of business. I'll start out here by introducing it. I will now open the public hearing on a request for a approval of the 10th Amendment to the Centennial Valley General Development Plan to allow a private school use at 168 Centennial Parkway. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there will be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we will have a presentation and testimony by the applicant, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to the applicant. After these two presentations, members of the public who have joined this meeting by computer or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak is asked to use the raise hand function if participating by computer, or *9 if calling in by telephone. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the Planning Commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and address. And can we begin with notification?
Yes, all notice was posted as required.
Thank you. And do any Planning Commission members have any disclosures? Seeing none, thank you. Can we ask you to begin the presentation?
Absolutely. So good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a hearing on Resolution 19, Series 2021, a resolution recommending approval of a request for the 10th Amendment to the Centennial Valley General Development Plan to allow a private school use at 168 Centennial Parkway. And we have not received any public comment, written public comment ahead of the meeting.
Thank you.
So here we have the vicinity map showing the address in question, which combines lots 3 and 4 and is currently part of parcel G. This area is zoned PCZD. The most recent amendment to parcel G occurred in 2015. And there is a PUD from 2016 that regulates the building and parking on site as well. But this proposal would not affect the PUD and there is no development proposed tonight. So this is a site plan from 2016 showing the building as well as the circulation and the parking around the building. And then the box in red is approximately where Fusion Academy would be. So the applicant is requesting the addition of a private school use at 168 Centennial to accommodate Fusion Academy specifically as a tenant by creating parcel G3. There are two additional notes to the GDP in the form of what amounts to housekeeping notes, referring to other documents that regulate Centennial Valley. For planning purposes, the non-traditional scheduling model of Fusion Academy is important to note, as it means that pickup and drop-off times would be dispersed throughout the day, rather than that more unified start and end time for more traditional schools. The application comes in the form of a GDP amendment because a private school use is not mentioned in the list of allowed uses for PCZDs, either as a use by right or as an SRU, but GDPs can further dictate uses beyond that list. Also, in staff analysis, we considered the balance between reviewing the specific application in front of us, which involves a non-traditional school, with the broader implications of creating a GDP amendment that allowed private school as a use by right. So while the request for a use change is relatively straightforward, staff's analysis did have this balance in mind. Go through the relevant criteria. And in the code, we have chapter 1772 regulating PCZDs. And in our analysis, we found that this use would add to the diversity of users and tenants in the area, and that the proposal was compatible with the existing office uses. Having the applicant at this site would not affect the purpose of a PCZD. And we also checked the buffer zones for marijuana and alcohol and didn't find any issues there. Staff found that the proposal would not affect future plans or desired character for the site as mentioned in the comp plan and the McCaslin Boulder small area plan. And then in addition, the tax revenue for a private school is consistent with what's already allowed on the site in the office use. So it gets a little more interesting with the CDVSG. So we found that the application was consistent with the office parking ratio. And in addition to that ratio, we also took a broader approach to this question of whether the site could accommodate a school use. So we talked with Public Works about whether the area could absorb a full occupation of a school in the future. And they were not concerned with the broader traffic implications, even if we had someone come in the future and want to put up a school in the whole building. The CDPSG also has the standard that requires that schools with 25 students or more shall incorporate a drop-off area. And this is technically a school with more than 25 students. However, staff is not proposing a drop-off area requirement at this time due to Fusion Academy's non-traditional scheduling. That said, schools are not offices, and staff wanted to record alongside this amendment at this point that the city does have an interest in regulating additional circulation and safety aspects when it comes to schools. So this did not come up out of a concern for anything proposed by the applicant, but rather from that approval of private school as a use by right. So to that end, staff worked with the applicant on the language that's in the development agreement, stating that the city could add additional safety and circulation requests regarding the school use in particular. And of course, this would be in addition to other forms of review, such as the expansion on the site or like a PUD or a tenant finish. So for that and those reasons, staff recommends approval of Resolution 19, Series 2021, and we're ready for questions. And also just to note that the applicant is here to speak.
I think you called on me, Chair. My question is just related to, we're changing the use by right to private schools. So I'm just curious, what would the process be if, this school obviously started and then down the road, a different school came and had a little bit of a different model with maybe different level of drop-offs and traffic. What would be the recourse there, or the process to kind of reevaluate?
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, if they came in and did any kind of expansion or changes that would warrant a building permit, we would re-review, everything that came in under that as well. So that includes parking, and that would include any circulation too. So we do a similar thing to what we did here, look at their proposal. And then also that's where that language is there as well. It's something that we can already regulate, but at the time we would see that that's in the development agreement and then say, okay, there are circulation and safety concerns here because let's say everybody gets off at 3 p.m., you know, and it's 100 students. And so we would want to regulate that differently. I think I want to just check with Lisa to make sure I didn't miss an additional point of contact.
Sure. No, thank you for that question. Commissioner Deal, I think that was kind of our primary concern. I think we agreed internally as staff that the use as proposed for this particular user didn't cause any issues, but more broadly, could this site accommodate a school? And so if it came in through just kind of a use change or they incrementally expand, I think our primary concern would be around circulation and safety. And so that's why we came up on that joint language regarding circulation, that if the city's concerned, you know, we could trigger improvements in that manner. But from an overall circulation to the transportation network, which is kind of the other primary concern as it relates to schools in the area, this site alone, just the carrying capacity of this site, not being that large, given the transportation network as a whole, Public Works didn't have concern that the site as a whole would cause transportation impacts to the overall network. Okay,
so the note that goes on the GDP would basically give the city the right to reevaluate due to safety and traffic concerns if, like, for example, their school model changed.
Exactly. And actually, the way it's written, I pulled it up on the screen, it's actually a little broader. It's actually a little broader than that. So if there are any issues, even with this tenant, this language would allow us to step in and say, you know, we do actually have concerns, with the way that the circulation and safety is operating on the site. Again, like it's more just a kind of a backstop in that case, because we don't foresee that being an issue here. But it's a little broader even than just a new tenant coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any additional questions of staff?
I guess, thanks, Amelia. By the way, was this your first presentation?
First one. Did you see right. I said PCZD several times?
Yes. Well, you did great. I am wondering if you could just kind of talk to me a little bit about what we're being asked today. This evening is about the GDP. Tell me a little bit more about what kind of requirements the applicant is having to go through in terms of sort of like their site review and like, for example, you boxed off the area in the building that they're going to occupy. That stuff, I take it, is going to be covered more at an administrative level. Maybe if you could just explain that a little bit, that'd be helpful for me anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. So they'll have to come in for a tenant finish. And at that time, that goes through building. And then for us in zoning, we'll just double check that what they said here is like, consistent. And then also we'll check parking. So that'll give us exact square footage and that kind of thing. So that's the next step for them.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Moline. Any additional questions? Well, thank you, Amelia. Appreciate that. Moving on, we'd invite the applicant to make their presentation. And if you would begin with your name and address, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My name is Brett Vasick. I am a resident of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Home address is 7689 Anchorage Drive, Southeast, Caledonia, Michigan, 49316.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair Brownice and commissioners, for your time and allowing us to be before you today. I wanted to give a special thank you to Amelia and Lisa for working with us the last couple of months to get us before you tonight, and to Amelia for doing an excellent job describing the project during her presentation. As I mentioned, my name is Brett Vasick. I am a real estate project manager for Fusion Education Group. Also joining me tonight is our legal counsel, Lindsay Lita with Ott & Johnson. Fusion Education Group is the corporate parent of Fusion Academy, and we do own and operate alternative, innovative, private, middle, and high schools under a number of different brands across the country. Nothing new really to add specifically to this project. Amelia did a great job, as I mentioned, but I would like to take just a few minutes to talk a little bit more about Fusion Academy. And of course, we're available to answer and respond to any questions that you may have. Fusion Academy is a fully accredited private school and tutoring facility providing instruction for students in grades 6 through 12. Fusion is our top of the line flagship model. We currently have 62 schools located in 19 states and the District of Columbia, including our Fusion Denver campus, which opened up in the fall of 2019 in the Greenwood Village area. And it's been very successful since it opened up there. As I mentioned, Fusion is fully accredited by both national and regional accrediting bodies, which are recognized by the state of Colorado. We have students who attend full-time under a college prep program to then continue their education in college or to go start their careers. But we also offer part-time opportunities for students who just take several classes for credit that they then transfer to their main private and public schools, or also even tutoring session and mentoring opportunities for certain subjects that students might need help with. Although Fusion Academy is fully accredited and most of our students do attend full-time to receive their high school diplomas, our campuses do not look nor function like a traditional school, and that is by design. Each campus offers an intentionally small micro-learning environment. We provide individualized instruction taught in a one-to-one student-to-faculty ratio. Fusion delivers personalized learning in an environment where every student can feel welcome and receive the education he or she needs to succeed. Each student's schedule is individually tailored for that student's unique skills and challenges and learning preferences. Offering individualized instruction with one-to-one student-to-staff ratios means that each individual student's schedule is essentially custom and no two students have the exact same schedule. Due to our education model, Fusion campuses are not physically structured like a traditional school that houses hundreds or thousands of students. We operate in Class A office buildings or mixed-use centers, typically occupy between 8,000 to 11,000 square feet. We have no large classrooms that seat 20 to 30 students, no on-site gymnasium, auditorium, cafeteria, et cetera. By providing instruction when a one-to-one ratio, where no two students have the same schedule, that means that student and staff arrivals and departures are staggered throughout the course of each day. We don't have large pulses where all the students and parents and staff all arrive in the morning and then all leave at the end of the day. Each class minute is 50 minutes in length. A full-time student will typically take between 2 and 3 classes a day, Monday through Thursday, with maybe some clubs and extracurriculars on Fridays. They arrive for their scheduled classes, stay for a couple hours, do some homework, and then leave quietly. It's all done in a very professional manner, which fits in well with our use in an office building, which really functions more like a tutoring center instead of a school. But we are, as I mentioned several times, fully accredited school. At this point, I will just share my screen just to give a couple visual aids, if you permit me here, just to get a better idea of kind of what we're speaking about. We are really excited about this opportunity here in Louisville. This is the site, and Amelia pointed out that our space is located in this portion of the building. It's actually this corner here. Same goes here if you can see my cursor. Louisville is ideally located for us in this market because not only are we attracting students and parents in the city, but also other communities in Boulder County, including Boulder, Broomfield, and Lafayette. This space in this building is perfect for our operations. We have direct access from the parking lot. We will build our own restrooms in the space, which I'll show in just a second. So our students will not be interacting with any common areas in the building or any other tenants. Zoom in here. This is our current layout, which will be on our construction plans, which I believe have been submitted to the city just in the last couple of weeks. As you can see here, our main structure is the one-on-one tutoring rooms. We are planning for 20 individual tutoring offices, which are just big enough for one staff member and one teacher. As I mentioned, we do have 4 individual gender neutral restrooms. And some of the other, we have administrative offices, an art room, a science room, and these things we call homework cafes where a student can quietly do their homework for the day and also get some help from the teachers when they need it. So we are on target to open the school in June of 2022, pending approval with our GDP amendment and all other permits. But we are very excited to open up the school in this community to serve Louisville and the greater county area. And that concludes my presentation for now. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
There we go. Sorry about that. For some reason, my space bar was not working. Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. At this time, do any commissioners have questions of the applicant? Commissioner Moline.
I just have a quick one based on your model. Do you see, it's interesting to see a school, a non-traditional school utilizing physical space. And I'm just curious, you know, has your company looked at remote learning, and I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It's a little tangential to what our planning commission stuff is dealing with, but I'm just curious about the use of physical space. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. So this model, Fusion Academy, traditionally was always brick and mortar physical space. Our company, we have launched a new brand starting in April of 2020 called Fusion Global Academy, which is 100% online virtual. Which was geared originally for international students who want a Western American degree or diploma, but we have seen a lot of growth in areas where we're not able to physically open a space. That being said, we do still feel the importance of having a physical space. The type of students that come to Fusion, there's a lot of reasons why, but for whatever reason, they're not functioning in a traditional school environment. That could be face social anxiety disorders, bullying. They learn at a faster pace even than a classroom is taught, or a slower pace. So the one-on-one connection is really important to us, and a lot of people still feel that's important to be physically present. But the model does lend itself well to virtual. It's easier to go one-on-one virtual than it is with a large group. And so during COVID year, we did switch all of our campuses virtual throughout, following the local guidelines in the communities that they were doing. So pretty seamlessly, really. But in physical presence is important to us still.
Great. Thanks for that explanation, Mr. Baschik.
That's right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any additional questions of the applicant? See, right now I do not have everybody. I don't have all the commissioners. Okay.
I see Commissioner Howe with a question.
Great. Thanks. Commissioner Howe, go ahead.
Hey, Brett, do you typically see that your demands for more square footage increases over time? Have you ever needed to increase your square footage in buildings over time?
It's a great question. I won't say never. There have been across our portfolio, one or two that we have expanded. I can tell you from a business standpoint, we don't like to do expansions. The return, it's very expensive to do these build outs for us. And the return doesn't always work out that way. So we have a very sophisticated modeling and projections going into this, where we think we know what we need up front. And we build our budget to start small and build up over time. So yes, this is the space we will hope to grow into. So we'll be building up over time. But no, we don't foresee and don't typically see expansions.
And then there was some discussion about traffic and some traffic patterns. You guys have done this a lot with your schools, and I know you're kind of some people coming in and some people going out throughout the day. But it seems like you guys are on the backside of the building, and for people to get to your office, they'll have to enter from the road and almost go back to the corner. Do you see any issues with that? Or is a pass-through needed?
No, we don't actually. We always have a concern about visibility and signage and direction wayfinding. So that is important to us, just so new parents coming for a tour or an admissions meeting can find us. Obviously, once you're enrolled, we don't think that's an issue. But no, we actually like the opportunity to be towards the back, where we're kind of off, farther away from the main road. and kind of not impacting any of the other tenants. Not that we are impactful, but this is an ideal space for us. And actually, this is an old image, but with the cut throughs here, with the road connecting through, it's actually better for us for access to the amenities and shops nearby for our parents and staff and that kind of stuff.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Brett.
Commissioner Deal. Or did you have anything else, Commissioner Howe? Oh, great, thanks. Commissioner Deal.
Yeah, with regard to wayfinding and signage, will there be a sign on the building? And then is there going to be a request or a need for any other type of wayfinding?
We have approved, the landlord has approved, we have facade eyebrow signage over our space. And then we do have we did get signage in the landscaping bed directing towards our space. Okay. We're not on the monument sign, but we have our own kind of standing sign with our logo directing arrows to us. And then, great. The second question is just related to the typical student. Do they go to lunch, leave the building, and then want to come back after lunch for the remaining class or two? That's a great question. Yes, so we don't offer any food service, obviously. Some students do leave to go. That's why we do like to be, if possible, walking distance. Not sure if I lost my seat. Possible walking distance, but what we found a lot of our kids do is Uber Eats or Grubhub. Well, they'll order food. That seems to be pretty common. Some do bring with them. Staff often do that, but it really depends on their schedule. Some might only have classes in the morning, some only in the afternoon, where they won't be there for lunch. And that's typically what we see. Okay, great. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Great. Any additional questions? All right. And I see we have no attendees. Otherwise, we would open up for public comment right now. But that does give you kind of a last chance opportunity if you had anything else you want to share with us for our response and closing statement.
Nothing else. Just wanted to thank you again for your time and that we're really excited for the opportunity. Thank you.
Great. Certainly. Thank you very much. And then a staff response and closing statement. Does staff wish to address anything raised by additional questions or comments?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Do we have any additional questions of staff?
I just have a minor one, which is the talk of additional signs in the landscaping in addition to the monument sign gave me memories of the car wash PUD. And I guess I'll just pose it as a question to you, Amelia. Is that something that's on your radar?
You know, it will be. I think whatever they submit to us will have to go through the sign code and everything. And I'm sure Brett and I will talk about that further. They did submit a tenant finish earlier this week. It's not part of this, so I didn't really bring it up. But yeah, we'll be looking at everything.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Hefner. Anybody else? All right. I'll now close the public hearing and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Is there anybody who would like to volunteer to begin? Commissioner Deal.
Sure. First of all, thank you to Amelia and the staff for a fantastic report and presentation. To Brett and the Fusion team, thank you for picking Louisville. Personally, I'm very excited to have you join the city and very interesting and exciting proposal. So I'm fully in support.
Thank you, Commissioner Deal. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Moline.
Oh, sure. I can jump in. I'll just echo exactly what Commissioner Deal just said. I'm excited by this proposal. I feel like the staff memo captures the exact rationale for why this proposal deserves support and approval. And yeah, I'm glad to see this this learning model come to Louisville. So thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Howe?
Yeah, I can't think of a reason. Well, first of all, yeah, thank you, Brett and Fusion, and thank you, Amelia. Fantastic presentation. I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't want this to be in this building, and I've thought about it a lot. So I think that it offers a good opportunity for students to have an alternate or a different option to what we provide otherwise. And I think this is a great location for that school. I couldn't think of a better location. So I think I would support this. I think it's a great opportunity for Louisville.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Howe. Vice Chair Hefner.
I don't have much to add other than this strikes me as sort of another good example of creative uses of commercial space that maybe otherwise wouldn't have a tenant, and one to think about as we continue our conversation around commercial vacancies and that kind of thing.
Excellent. I also find myself in favor of the proposal. And, you know, typically I hate to think that Planning Commission might slow things down. I think in this case, though, it is an important kind of reality check for us as a town to see if this is a use that we want to allow. So while it may seem rather kind of pro forma, I think it's a good thing that we did stop and check in at this point in time. So with that, I would invite a motion.
I'll go ahead and move approval of resolution number 19, series 2021, or resolution recommending approval of a request for a 10th amendment to the Centennial Valley General Development Plan to allow private school use at 168 Centennial Parkway.
Excellent, thank you very much. And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Hefner.
Yes.
Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Commissioner Howe.
Yes.
Commissioner Deal.
Yes.
Chair Bronis.
Yes. With that, the motion carries, and we wish you the best as you move forward. Thank you very much. All right, short agenda this evening for the rest of us. We can open it up to Planning Commission comments.
I'd just like to shout out, as I'm sure other people may, to Commissioner Williams. Sorry we missed you tonight, but thanks for your years of service and volunteering for the city. Much appreciated from me, and I'm sure the rest of the citizens of Louisville. Thank you.
I would concur.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I'm sure everyone does, yes. Thank you. Do we have any other Planning Commission comments?
Unfortunately, no Planning Commission holiday party this year.
We used to have them every month, but times have changed, haven't they?
Any I guess maybe that's a question for later. Any movement on in-person meetings? Nope. Okay.
No, I think at this point we're just kind of holding tight. Council hasn't put any discussion items on an agenda that I've heard. I think we all assume the winter, it's probably better if we stay hunkered down the best we can and then kind of see what the spring brings.
Okay.
Great.
I guess one question, since we have Lisa here, and I did read the action summary from Council on Tuesday, and I didn't quite follow the first resolution or the first reading. Maybe you can describe.
Yeah, so you're talking about the Red Tail Ridge application, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. So, right. So the petition, as you know, was validated by the city clerk. They received over 700 signatures, where I think just over 400 were required. So it's 2.5% of the electorate. So on December 7th, City Council was presented with two options, and they were structured a little differently due to procedure. So one option would have been to approve a resolution to send the red tail application to the voters on referendum. The other was an ordinance that would overturn the approval of their ordinance and not send it to the voters. So the resolution, if they had chosen that option, would have happened within one night. And that would have happened on December 7th had they made that decision. However, they made the decision to pass on first reading the ordinance to overturn it and not send it to a vote and just overturn it at the council level. So at this point in time, that was first reading. The public hearing on that ordinance, goodness, I believe it's December 21st, so the next regular meeting. presuming that vote to approve on first reading stands, then the approval of the ordinance will be rescinded, and it won't go to a vote. That goes back to the underlying general development plan. So that's kind of the track that it's heading down if everything continues, kind of as we assume it will, given the first reading. Does that answer your question?
I guess so. Is it in a sense just a breathing period or a quiet period between what they voted on Tuesday and then what will happen on the 21st? Or?
Yeah, so for ordinances at city council level require 2 readings. Typically, they don't really discuss an ordinance on first reading, but because they were deciding whether to adopt the ordinance or adopt the resolution, they actually took public comment and had their discussion. Ordinances always require 2. And so then the public hearing on the ordinance then would occur on the 22nd.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an interesting discussion, that's for sure. So stay tuned, but I don't see that they'll do anything different, and that, that I think they made their decision. But obviously will happen officially on the 21st.
Okay,
great.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as far as other city news, you may have seen or heard that the city council offered a contract to Jeff Durbin as new city manager. So his first day will be December 31st. His longest tenure was in the city of Fraser, or the town of Fraser. So he was city manager in the town of Fraser for a number of years in the early to mid 2000s, I think as recently as maybe 2019. And then he did an interim manager position in the town of Frisco for a while, and we're very excited to bring him on board on December 31st. So Rob will be joining back in our department, and I'll be sliding back, which we're all happy about, in January. So just an update on that. I'm not sure if Rob will be here on our January meeting or not, but just to let you know a status on that. And then you all have probably heard by now that City Council would like to interview any of you who are up for reappointment. And I think just the conversation that happened at City Council was just around, I think, the desire to continue for those of you who have been on a while, and, kind of why you're still interested in participating. And so, if you have questions on that, I know I've heard from some of you, but please feel free to reach out. I am very, very happy to continue working with all of you, but ultimately it'll be at City Council's discretion on how that moves forward. But it's all of you that are going to be getting interviews. So wish you well, and please reach out with any questions other than Chair Brown Ice. So you're stuck with us for a while, as your term isn't lapsing right now.
And enjoying it all far too much, actually. So that said, though, they will have the interviews, and then the selection will also be at that meeting on the 21st, typically, or?
That's a good question. Let me pull up the agenda. I think the interviews are actually the 13th. Is that right? Those of you
Monday.
Who have heard?
Yep. Some of them, yeah.
On Monday.
The interviews are the 13th, and then the selection, let me just double check.
Typically,
selection's
January.
on the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So you would know on December 21st, they'll make their appointments. It's on the consent agenda. And then January, you'll hear from the city clerk, obviously how that goes. And then January, you'd be back on board. We will, as you know, have at least 2 new members. So we will get, some fresh ideas with at least 2 new members, and see what they decide on the rest.
Great. Thank you very much.
I would add just a short planning commissioner comment. I listened into that discussion as well. And I was maybe a little surprised to hear that there's apparently a perception that planning commission is somewhat intimidating, and partly maybe due to our current demographic makeup of sort of gender and race wise. And it just sort of gave me the thought that we should continue to strive to be as welcoming and friendly as possible. Although I think we do a fairly good job of that. I'm sure there's always room to improve.
I missed the first part of that, Dietrich, in terms of where was that feedback? That was
at the council meeting where they decided to have interviews for planning commissioners seeking reappointment.
Okay.
It wasn't the majority of the discussion by any stretch, but there were sort of comments that it's an all white male group and it's high powered and intimidating and that sort of thing. And with due respect to the importance of our work, you know, I think we should be a very approachable group.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, kind of closing the loop on that. Appreciate that.
And then just a question for the January meeting. And do we need to put this on the agenda with Commissioner Williams not being active? Will we I don't know who will be here or not, but maybe to put on the agenda to vote for a secretary.
Yeah, so usually our first meeting in January, we have a number of housekeeping items. One of them is election of chair, vice chair, and secretary. And then we also have, you know, kind of our open meeting regulations and posting notifications, things like that. So January will include some housekeeping items. And I usually just do a save as on the previous year's first year agenda. So I remember all those things. But thank you for that. Yes, you'll be reconsidering chair and vice chair and secretary in your January meeting. So think amongst yourselves on how you would like to approach that discussion. If normally you all handle that on your own during the meeting, but if any of you want to formalize that more or do kind of written nominations, you know, we can talk through that. If there's any concern, reach out to me and we can figure out a different approach. If you'd like to go in a more formal manner than you have in the past. And as far as January agenda goes, I think we're feeling okay. For a while there internally, it looked like we might have a bunch of applications that were going to be ready. And you probably noticed on your agenda, I think there was a potential of 4. I think the dark sky lighting, Amelia, I want to give a big shout out to Amelia, by the way, too, here. We have been so happy with the work that she's been doing internally. I can't even, I mean, she's, you all know how amazing she is. And we've been really, really lucky to have her in our department in a more, in a bigger role here while we had Rob's absence. She stepped in and she stepped up in a really big way. So she has been rewriting our dark sky ordinance, which I know you all have been anxious to see. And so she is really doing a phenomenal job with that, but we need a little bit more time. We were hoping we'd have that ready in January. I think that's more likely going to be in February. She'll be bringing that to you. And so we may have a couple development applications that are ready in January. So January looks a little more manageable than it looked like on your agenda.
Great. So we still have the 3 that are listed.
Possibly it might drop down. It might even only drop down to 1. I think One of them we know for sure isn't ready. Assume we're going to have a meeting in January, but I think it's going to be a meaningful meeting.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Any additional commissioner?
Thank
comments?
you, Lisa, for all your work.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. You bet. You guys are amazing. I really do want to let you know that as far as the commissions go, you all handle these meetings really well, and you are thoughtful and take the time to do this work really well. And so Dietrich, I want to say I appreciate your comments. I think that's always good to remember that, you know, to remain approachable to the community and hear their thoughts and feedback. And so I think those were great comments as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Boyd, and I really agree. I do feel like that's one of the things that my personal opinion is a Zoom meeting could make people feel less approachable, perhaps. And so anyway, I'm not saying we should, you know, always be in the back of our mind or in the front of our mind to make the public feel that very welcome. I feel like we try and do that, but I do feel like that's one of the things that in-person meetings lets us do maybe a little better than Zoom meetings. So I don't know. Hopefully we get back to that at some point.
Great. Well, with that then, happy holidays to all.
Yeah.
You all as well.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Motion
to adjourn.
Thanks.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Thanks, guys.